Hi, I'm Steve Saka, and I'm from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. You've probably never heard of me, and you've probably never heard of my company before. And well, that's not so surprising. We're a small family-owned company. We manufacture cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua, and we distribute them from New Hampshire here in the glorious United States of America. Now, I'm talking to you from my backyard right now, and I'm going to try to explain to you who we are, what we do, and what makes us different than other companies. Basically, I've been in our industry for 40 plus years. Originally, I just started off as a geek cigar smoker. And from that, I started probably the very first online website. It was called Cigar Nexus. A few of you may have heard of that or read it before if you've been into cigars for a very, very long time. And from that, I then became an executive consultant at a company called JR Cigar, which was the largest importer and retailer of handmade cigars in America. My next step was to go on to become president and CEO of a little tiny company that you might have heard of called Drew Estate. And when I was at Drew Estate, we created a whole slew of really great, world-famous brands. Well, in 2013, I decided I was sick of Miami, I was sick of attorneys, I was sick of the whole corporate rigmarole. I decided to pick up my ball, go home, and return back here to New Hampshire. Also, I decided that I wanted to start a new cigar company, a new type of cigar company, something small, something that was not sales or growth driven, something that was focused on really just one thing, the product. I've always been a believer that if the product is really good, all the other stuff will eventually come. Money comes, success comes, growth comes, but you can't force these things. If you do a good product, you will ultimately be rewarded. And that's really been kind of my premise. And as a mantra for the company, taking this into mind, we use the term puro sin compromiso, which basically means cigars without compromise. I wanted to use just the very best materials. I wanted to use the very best pairs. I didn't want to care about the cost. I didn't want to care about the market segment or who are we targeting and how are we going to advertise it. None of that nonsense. Just focus on the cigars, focus on the tobacco, do the best work possible, and let the chips fall where they fall. Now, as a result, we've been quite blessed. In the last 8 years, we have arguably become the hottest craft cigar maker in America. Half Wheel consensus list, we've been in the top 3 for 8 consecutive years. Number 1, number 2, or number 3. There have been years when we've been multiples. I think last year we were the number 1, the number 3, and the number 5 cigar on their top list. I think we've been named the company of the year 4 years, may even be 5 years. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. But that's really immaterial. What's more material is, what do we do that's different than what other companies do? Well, it's quite simple. Because we're not focused on who the consumer is that we're trying to sell to, and we're not focused on trying to hit a price point, we're only focused on making the very best cigar possible, and then putting it out in the marketplace, and then hoping other people agree and they find our products worthy and of value. And another thing that makes us quite different is we don't make any one style of cigar. We make things from all over the spectrum, from really mild cigars like our Sobremesa Brûlée to our really super strong cigars like the Mi Querida Triquitraca that I'm smoking now. Now, all of these cigars, they're all my personal taste. In other words, everything we make begins with me and ends with me. I source all the tobacco, I create all the blends. Nobody in our company or outside gets to taste anything, try anything, have an opinion about anything. I ultimately make the determination as to what I want the blend to be, and that is what goes in the box, and then I just let the chips fall where the chips fall. Now, what that means is, it means if you like what I like, then you're going to probably be very, very pleased with our cigars. If you don't like what I like, you're probably not going to be for you. But what does Steve Saka like in a cigar? Well, obviously, I like it to taste good. But of course, tastes are very arbitrary. But there's certain things about a cigar and how it tastes that are not. One of the things that's really important to me is that it always has a hint of sweetness to it, even the stronger blends. You want to smoke a cigar and you want to make your palate a little moist, you know, because when you eat something that's really good, you always get a little bit of saliva going. So for me, before you even get into the nuts and the earth and the cocoa and all that other nonsense, is it pleasurable to the palate? Do you find it to be enjoyable? The other thing that's really important to me is I like the cigar to have texture. What I mean by texture is I mean depth, richness. Even when it's a mild blend, I want to feel the smoke heavy in my palate. I want to feel it chewy. I want to feel that there's lush to it. I want to feel like there's almost a fatness to the smoke. And that's really super critical to me. The other thing that's obviously critical is construction. But not construction because, oh, we all want a pretty burning cigar, or, oh, we all want a cigar that holds a great ash, blah, blah, blah. Of course we want those things. But because when a cigar is well constructed, it's what allows for the flavors to be properly conveyed. It's what allows the strength. When a cigar is too tight, it holds the blend back. When the cigar is too loose, it also makes it burn too quick and turn a little acrid. You need to get that bunching just right in order to give you the perfect smoking experience. I like cigars that stay lit, that I don't have to light 32 times while I'm smoking them. I like cigars that are durable. What I mean by durable is I don't like cigars that are like so uber fragile that I got to worry about if I knock them around just a little bit. I mean, it's a cigar. It's not some like ancient Chinese artifact that should have to be protected under glass. I mean, it's meant to be enjoyed, is what it's meant to be. I like cigars to be consistent. Consistency is probably the most important part, because when you find a blend that you really enjoy, you want to be able to experience that blend multiple times over and over again. So it has to be not just consistent within a box, it has to be consistent in every box and year after year after year. And look, as a small manufacturer, that's probably one of our greatest challenges, to make a consistent blend, but it's the cornerstone to what makes a great cigar great. So everything, taking this into consideration and using my own personal experience, not just from the companies that I worked with, but from my own smoking experience. In the last 40 odd years, I personally smoked maybe 120,000 handmade cigars. Yeah, you heard that right. About 120,000 is the back of the napkin calculation. So I have definite opinions about what makes a cigar without compromise and what makes a cigar with compromise. And as a result, we've been rewarded here in the United States. In the last 8 years, we've been in the top of the Half Wheel consensus list every single year. When I say the top, I mean either the number 1, the number 2, or the number 3 spot. In many years, we're multiples of those spots. Last year, we were the number 1, the number 3, and the number 5 cigar in their top 25. In addition to that, we've also been named the Company of the Year multiple years. 4 years, maybe 5 years in the last 8. It's been quite a run. And I like to think that that's the result of, obviously, not my great videography skills and not my great marketing and not my amazing inexpensive cigars, because they certainly aren't inexpensive, but because the product is worth it, because it is different, because it is better. And that is something that we at Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust always strive to do, to make the absolute best cigars possible. And that is my promise to everyone that becomes a Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust patron, that I will always put the most effort possible, the utmost, into every product that we make. And as a result, we have been rewarded well, and hopefully you guys in the United Kingdom will find our cigars enjoyable and pleasurable, and most importantly, immensely satisfying. So thank you very much. And I apologize for the beginning of this video, but this really isn't my forte.